Hello, my name is Carissa Matz, and I'm going to talk to you today about the music of the Renaissance era. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be a composer of the medieval times? Yes? Good. Have you thought about how much hard work and effort that they had to put in with having nothing to use? Yes. Okay, now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the styles and trends of the 14th and 15th centuries. During the 14th century, they used the polyphony style, which is a texture consisting of two or more independent melodic voices. It became elaborate with the use of high independent voices. During the 15th century, simplification with voices strived more towards smoothness. The genres of the time included motets and masses for the whole period. Towards the end, different developments occurred. Composers of sacred music began to adopt secular forms. Sacred music included the mass and motet, the madrigal, spiritual, and laude. Secular music had an increasing distribution with a wide variety of forms, but they had to be more cautious about assuming an explosion of variety due to the printing press becoming more available. Secular music included songs for one or many voices, forms such as fratola, chanson, and madrigal. Besides spiritual and instrumental music, there was also purely instrumental music by means of a recorder. A recorder is a woodwind instrument. Towards the end of the period, precursors of opera occurred. They were melody, madrigal, comedy, and intermezzo. The theory and notation of the time was noted only in individual parts. Scores were extremely rare, bar lines were not used at all, and note values were generally larger than today. The primary beat was a whole note. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the composers, the best known composers of the Renaissance time. During the 1400 to 1470, there was Lenault Power and John Dunstable. From 1470 to 1530, there was Nicholas Gomber and Thomas Crequelin. And from 1540 to 1610, there was Felipe Roger and Carlo Gislato. Over on this side, I have a couple of the instruments that were used during the time. This is the wheel fiddle and the lukey. The early Renaissance music period began in the 1400s and ended 1467. They dropped the late medieval periods of devices and provided a more limpid and flowing style. What they lost from not using the late medieval style, they gained an authentic vitality. The Middle Renaissance music era started in 1467 and ended in 1534. In 1470, the music printing press enabled a larger audience to be reached and was cheaper than manuscript. During that era, there were also well-known instruments developed. During the end of the 15th century, spiritual music re-emerged by means of Johannes Åkerholm and Jacob Albright. In the early 16th century, simplification trends began and moved away from canonic and other measural plays. They moved towards points of imitation and duet or trio sections with 5 or 6 voices. The late Renaissance period began in 1534 and ended in 1600. Polychoral style developed and gave Europe the best composed music of the time. During the era, the Roman school became prominent, which was a group of composers who had direct connection with the Vatican. They opened several schools. Among the schools established was the English Madrigal School. Some mannerism that was used during the late 16th century were secular music trending toward more complexity. 4 of the main instruments used during the time were brass, strings, percussions, and woodwinds. I've talked to you about the beginning, central, and late Renaissance era and how they flowed into one another, making a rich contribution to our music today. Are there any questions?